All right, well, here we go. Paradox of Sports, episode 24. We took a week off last week. We weren't even planning on taking a week off, but life happens, so we were busy. So, Jack, what's the last couple of weeks been like?
It's been fun.
You've stayed busy.
Yeah, with school and all that stuff and sports and all that.
So you wrapped up baseball. So is baseball done now?
Yes. I'm not sure if there's a tournament in Halloween or not. They said something about it. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So you could still, so there still might be a baseball game out there then.
I'm not sure if that's final yet.
Okay. So now that that's broke down, let's go. So your schedule now. We're taping this Thursday night. The Broncos game is getting ready to kick off. Real fast, we'll do the other picks after Broncos Jets. You get the Jets and plus 3.5 at home. So who are you picking tonight?
I'm picking so the Jets are plus 3.5. I'm taking the Broncos.
Okay, so you're taking the Broncos. I'm taking the Jets. So we're different on the first one, but we'll get to the rest of the picks after our interview. You're ride or die with the Broncos, man. It's hard to pick against your team. So I'm less ride or die.
I'm trying to figure out if I can pull my thing up.
Oh, okay. So Mondays are school and football practice, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then Tuesdays you stay home. It's homeschool and no practice.
No practice.
Gotcha. And that's what you do on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Monday, Wednesday, school, football practice, and then Friday you go to school as well, right?
I don't go to school on Friday, but I do go to football practice.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm with you. So then you're done then. You're done. Do you have any school tomorrow? Like, do you have to get on and do virtual?
No, I only go 4 days a week. I do have I do have a little bit of work to do, but that's it.
Nice. That's my school growing up. We were 4 days a week too. That's a good, that's not a bad gig, man. Not a bad gig at all. So sports wise, what are some of the big things? Have you watched any of the baseball stuff that's been going on? Any of the playoff baseball?
Barely. I haven't watched that much baseball for a while.
I haven't either. It just has. I think maybe next week when the little bit more of the playoffs get going, I might tune in a little more. We sort of wrapped up boating season and everything here. We have a couple weekends off. Hockey practice starts next weekend for the girls, and then we get pretty busy then rest of the winter.
I'm still learning how to ice skate.
Oh, are you going to keep up with that? Do some ice skating?
Maybe. I haven't ice skated in like 2 years or so. I haven't done it for a while.
Do you go to any of the Pueblo Bulls games?
I've been to one.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, the Pueblo Bulls won.
Nice. Yeah, hockey's fun live. So that's the good one to do.
Yeah.
So it's my favorite to do. So even at the junior level. So I have my first game that I do the public address for and stuff is October, sometime the 20th, somewhere in there, maybe the 22nd. So I got a couple weeks. I've been building my playlist and stuff, so I'll be ready to do that.
I'm still trying to find the pickup.
Did you get your picks in?
Oh yeah, I got them in.
Okay, good.
But they're on my dad's phone. I'm gonna sign in with Google.
Do it.
I press sign in with Google. Which account am I on? Oh, let's go to. Oh, I am on this account. Nice. All right, I'm just gonna press hide video so that I could click on this.
That's fine.
All right.
So you got your picks?
I have them pulled up.
Hey, I don't know what we're struggling on our picks, man. I don't know what I've traditionally done a little better than this.
Yeah.
I know I was going to ask you about. Did you get a chance to watch the Texas Tech game last week?
The one 63-56 Texas.
Yeah, where they lost in overtime.
Yeah.
That was rough, man.
They were up 15 points.
Were you with your mom when you were watching it?
Yeah, we were at Graham's Grill with my dad while my brother was at a birthday party.
But was your mom with you though?
Yeah, he was with me.
Okay, for people that don't know, Jack's mother is a alumni of Texas Tech, and when Texas Tech plays and you get to watch the game with her, what would you say, Jack? There's a lot of passion. Is that the best way to put it?
Yeah,
Lots of passion.
I would say. Wait, where is my picks? I mean, all right, let's go
Go to pool. If you get in there, you should go to picks, and then I think it says make picks, and then it'll pull them up. Or I think you can even maybe say see picks.
It says view all picks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna view my picks just so that this actually works.
Perfect.
All right.
You got him?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first, let's go ahead. We'll do our interview first, and then when we come back, you and I will go and pick our games for the week. How does that sound?
All right.
So we had the chance. It's been probably a month ago that you were in the Pueblo Chieftain. They did a really cool story on the podcast, you and kind of the stuff you're trying to do. So if you want, go ahead and introduce our guest.
Introducing sports reporter for the Pueblo Chieftain, Austin. What? I'm trying to do my best. You know that like boxer voice? You know the boxer voice?
Michael Buffer.
Yeah, Michael Buffer.
Yeah.
Introducing Austin White. So before we get into Pueblo High School sports scene, talk about your history on how you got into journalism, some career highlights, and how you got to Pueblo.
Absolutely. Well, I got into this because I remember in 8th grade, we did a project in my English class, and I didn't exactly do it correctly, but my teacher appreciated the effort I put into it. And she told me, oh, you should think about being a sports writer or a reporter. And kind of ever since that day, I was like, you know what, that's a great idea. Like you can put in, you can still be around sports without putting in all the physical effort of being an athlete. So that was a perfect job. And so all through high school, I worked in the newspaper class, and then eventually went to CSU. And CSU is one of the best journalism schools you can find really in the country, and especially around here. So I got to work for the student newspaper there a couple of years, covered volleyball, basketball, football, all kinds of things up there at CSU. And some of my favorite stories still have come from CSU. And I wrote this story on a volleyball girl. She's 6'7", but the story I wrote about her was, what's life like for a girl who's 6'7" outside of the volleyball court. So that was one of my favorite ones. And really just, landing the job here in Pueblo was just kind of luck. I mean, I went to a job fair in Colorado Springs, and the first open table was Steve Henson, the managing editor of the Chieftain. Sat down with him, told me that there was a couple spots coming open. So I was like, well, here I am. Please take me. So that's kind of how I got here. All just kind of luck and fate, I guess.
Yeah, that certainly has a lot to do with where we're at today in the world and where we end up. But let's go back to the high school days a little bit. Talk about where you grew up, and then how involved were you when it came to sports in general, and what really got you started on that path?
Yeah, I grew up in Wheat Ridge. If you don't know where it's at, it's wedged in between Lakewood and Golden a little bit, up near Denver. And we had a great teacher who's still there, Miss Landon, Kay Landon. She's very passionate about newspaper, and she's always trying to recruit kids and everything. But she didn't need to recruit me because from middle school I already knew what I wanted to do. But right away, there wasn't really anyone else who was interested in sports, so I just kind of took that on myself. And Miss Landon also doesn't care too much about sports or knows much, so she kind of just leaves everything open to whoever wants to do it. So really I just got involved and kind of got to do whatever I want and try to make sports kind of look how I think it should, and sports editor my senior year. And, that's just kind of where it all started. Learned AP style, things like that. And, InDesign as well. And, designing actual newspaper pages. So yeah, the high school experience was the best part. And, I hope high schools are still trying to keep newspapers around nowadays.
And then before we let Jack go on with a few more questions, one thing that, we had Tracy Ringlesby on several weeks back. And, one thing that Uncle Kevin has always stressed and even brought up when it comes to whether you're radio, television, newspaper personalities, how important it is to be a good writer. Even when it comes to like opens and leads and, even if it's something that is getting put into the teleprompter that you're reading, you got to be able to write it. So that's one thing we've been stressing on Jack, whether it's in front of the camera, behind the computer. Just, can you elaborate how important it is just to be a good writer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to college, so to get on the newspaper there, you had to do like some like test, like writing test thing. And I just bombed it completely. So they put me in radio instead. And I was like, oh man, I'm just going to be talking. Like, this sucks. Like, I want to write. And, I learned right there, it's not just, you show up to a mic and you write. Like, you write your own script. Like, you have to do the same things, instead you're just reading it to people, or you have, audio to go along with the story. And really, it doesn't matter, TV, radio, writing, like you need some kind of lead. You need to capture people's attention. You need to do your research too. I mean, really, no matter what, this job, no matter the form, you have to do your research. You have to be able to write things down, and writing it, in a coherent way for you is vital, because if things are jumbled in your brain and you're just trying to, go off without writing anything, then no one's going to know what the heck you're talking about. So, being able to write, put it to paper, just kind of organize yourself no matter what is going to be vital.
Mm-hmm. So, talk about this past March when the state basketball tournament was going on. Both Pueblo, West, and Wright had teams participating, as well as a couple smaller schools. Then they decided to cancel the tournament right before the semifinals take place. What was going through the media minds during that time?
Oh man, I can tell you, going through my mind, I remember, because I went up to Loveland to cover the Rye girls, and that first day they Chassa sent out the email saying that spring sports were going to be delayed. So right away, it's just like, my first thought is, why are we here right now? Like, if they're already saying spring sports aren't going to be going, why are we even trying to have a basketball tournament? But they played the first day, and Rye unfortunately lost, so they were going to be in the losers bracket the next day. And I was just kind of, my girlfriend lived in Fort Collins, so I didn't have to drive too far back. But I think it was about 11 o'clock at night, Chassa puts out, oh, the basketball tournaments are done. And I'm laying there in bed, and now, I got to get up and, write a breaking news story that, everything's done. And it was just weird. I mean, I don't think I'll probably ever experience anything like that again. And, that same day too was kind of the day where all the pro sports were canceling everything, like NBA, the NCAA, March Madness. Like, that day was just weird. And, it's a day where all these sports writers kind of turned into news writers, because there wasn't sports going on. The only news story was everything's getting canceled. So I think what was going on in my mind is, how do I not sound like a sports person right now? And I got to put on my news reporting hat here.
All right. No baseball, track or field to end the school year. How did you utilize your time on the paper, at the paper? What were you covering or writing about?
Yeah. So, no, I was trying to think, well, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do for my job for the next few months, so I better come up with something quick. And kind of the first idea I thought of was, my first thought was about the seniors, not getting that final year of high school and for most of them, that's just their final year, because they're not going to be playing in college. So we started this series. I just called it Something Simple, Senior Spotlight. And our goal was to feature seniors on every single spring team from every single school. And I think there was 52 teams, and we got 49 of them, and 2 of them just didn't have seniors, so there wasn't a story there. So that was one of the biggest things we did during that time was, talking to seniors, finding their stories. A lot of them were kind of similar stories, but there were some more interesting ones as well. And another thing we tried to do was reach out to some old Pueblo Prep stars in this other series that we just called Checking In. And that was a fun experience too, trying to, seeing some of Pueblo's best high school athletes ever. And the first one I got to do was on Corey Sperry, who went to CSU to play football. I mean, he was a star here in Pueblo County from everything I've heard on football and basketball. And, and he was just a great dude too. Now he's a cop somewhere up in like kind of the Broomfield area. And, being a CSU guy too, I knew everyone loved Corey Sperry. He was a tight end there. So that was a really cool series to do.
Bless you, buddy. Well, and you mentioned Corey Sperry, and I got a chance to cover him during, with Center for New Media, CNM Sports with Jim Brooks and Joe Servey, who spent many years there at the Chieftain. And, just got to see him play as a sophomore and his brother BJ being the quarterback. But then I also worked part-time at KCSJ. And, the reason I bring this up just because how great of an athlete Corey Sperry was. BJ, don't get me wrong, he was an amazing athlete as well. But probably one of the best moments happened on the basketball court, and it was against South, and it was at the Hornets' Nest. And I believe this was a year after Pueblo South won the state championship, or they advanced pretty far. And BJ was inbounding the ball, and just the dude's got a cannon, just all the way to the other end of the court, just a shot to Corey. One dribble, hops up, reverse dunk, pulls himself up on the hoop, and the Hornets' Nest just exploded. I mean, it was probably one of the best, Corey Sperry moments. I mean, yeah, I was at the Rocky Mountain Showdown where he scored 2 touchdowns for the Rams. He did some great things on the football field, but there on the basketball court, it was just that dude was unbelievable, as well as BJ too. So I'm glad you gotta cover him on this series because he was just unbelievable.
I asked if he was thinking about doing both at CSU, and he said it was more of a weight thing, that it would be tough to cut all the football weight in time for the basketball season. So that's why he just kind of stuck with football. But yeah, from everything I've heard about him, it sounds like he really probably could have played D1 basketball easily too.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
So wait, something happened. So once the school year started back up, some sports got the green light to move forward, like boys golf, tennis, cross country, and even softball. Did it feel good to be able to cover high school sports again?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just finally getting out of my house, like I think it was August 13th, Centennial softball played Vista Ridge, and I still remember that right now for some reason. And, just finally being able to go down to Runyon and, cover something was just, it just felt almost weird. And it almost felt like I shouldn't be there, after we were all quarantined and everything. But it's been awesome covering all this. And, I feel like there's been a new appreciation for it as well, just because, everyone kind of saw what can happen and, things can be taken away from you. So, it's been awesome to see kind of the appreciation from people as well. And just my own appreciation, like we all kind of, take sports for granted a little bit, but it was that easy for it to go away. So, this season's been awesome to cover everything. And, even though things have been a little shorter, like the boys tennis season is already over, which is just kind of wild to me, but yeah, no, it's been a blast this fall.
So then at the time football and volleyball were missing, what were your thoughts as far as CHSAA pushing those sports to the spring?
I thought it was probably the smart idea. I mean, just because, all the science and everything pointed towards, these big groups, probably not a great idea, especially in a sport like football where you're got 22 guys on the field, trying to hit each other. And, volleyball obviously is a little tougher, but, the science has said indoors and, kind of the vents and the circulation systems are kind of tough. So understood that one too. But, CHSAA obviously has been in an incredibly difficult spot, because there's two sides to this as well. The side that doesn't think it's a big deal and the side that does. And I think Chas has done the best they could to toe the line. You're never going to be able to satisfy everyone. You're going to have to make a choice that angers some people and is what other people want. So I think they've done the best job they possibly could to kind of toe that line. And I commend them too for giving football a second chance, since the numbers were pointing in a better direction. And obviously now here we are. Football's going to start in a couple of weeks, and I'm a lot of this stuff happens behind the scenes too. I know a lot of people are calling for Chassa to be transparent, but if Chassa puts out all these updates all the time, it could get people's spirits up, and then the governor and his team could say no, it's not going to happen. So I think Chassa kind of doing things behind the scenes is what's best. And if volleyball or something can come back sooner or whatever they plan to do, it could just be a nice surprise instead of getting people's hopes up. So it's been tough, but I think Chas has done it the best they could.
What were some of the highlights for local Pueblo athletes that were playing those other sports before we talk specifically football and volleyball seasons?
Like the tennis and golf and all that stuff that's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Some of the highlights. Well, for boys, we can start with boys tennis. The state tennis tournament was just last week, and there's 14 spots that are open at regionals, and Pueblo filled all 14 spots, which probably hasn't happened in a very long time, or maybe ever, honestly. I don't know how the regions always look, but that was an impressive feat to be able to do. It was a bit of a struggle at state since all 14 spots lost in the first round, but still commendable. And boys golf, there's a lot of good there. Pueblo West is going to be a state title contender next week when they're at state. Really about the only team that's kind of beaten them is Cheyenne Mountain, and there's some talk that Montrose is actually pretty good. They're the defending state champions, so they'll have their hands full. But I think Pueblo West golf will probably be at least top 3 as a team, and they've got a sophomore over there, Noah Wagner, who's already unbelievable. Already their best golfer, was close to being their best golfer last year. He could win an individual title even this year. Well, if he can just put together 2 good rounds, it's more than possible. And some of the smaller schools too. Swallows is sending their 3 guys from their golf team to state, which before that they've only sent 1. And Rye's sending a kid as well, Chance Donlin. He took second at his regionals, which was awesome. He was on their home court at home course at Holly Dot. Let's see what else is cross country. Cross country is a bit of a tougher sport in Pueblo, if we're going to be honest. But Pueblo West has a good girls team led by Aspen Fulbright. She's probably going to be a top 10 finisher at state potentially this year as a junior. Rye has a girl, Audrey Maroney. She's unfortunately been hurt already in this short season, but she could win a state title for Rye at 2A girls cross country. Boys is a little tougher, but there's a Cooper Morris from East and Andres Kira from South are a couple good runners. Kira's a freshman, and I believe Cooper's a senior, so those will be 2 to watch here. The city meets actually tomorrow at Elmwood, so that'll be fun to watch. And softball is just crazy, man. Like right now, South and Central are tied for the SCL lead. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head, which they split. The second tiebreaker is point differential between their 2 games, which they both won by 1, so they're tied there. Next tiebreaker is RPI ranking, where South is leading Central by 0.003 points. So, and this is the final week for SCL League softball, so it's going to be wild. This Tuesday and Thursday to see what happens with those 2.
Then the governor's office, along with Chassa, were going back and forth about football season, where teams had an option to play in Season A, the fall, or Season B, the spring. What were some of the comments and feedback you received on these plans to move forward?
Oh, man. I don't know if I could share all the comments I received, but, unfortunately it's become very divided, and, there's strong camps on both sides. Someone had a comment towards me saying that I was, being biased and not wanting the football season to start, and that was just not true at all. I mean, because South had some South kids put together a rally, and some other kids from other schools showed up to try to, get the governor's attention to start football. And, I had reported a story on that, and they said that I wasn't showing it correctly, which I don't know how they could believe that. But anyway, so the comments, like I said, were just very divided. There's some people that say, the kids, this virus doesn't really affect them too much. And there's another camp that says, well, it takes more than kids to play the games. I mean, you need officials, coaches, all that, and blah, blah, blah. So the comments have been very interesting, but, ultimately I think they're listening correctly. Everyone likes to say, Polis is making all these choices, but really Polis has a team of experts that are with him as well. And, those people know a lot more than, any of us probably ever will about diseases and all that. So, if his team says, hey, yeah, football looks like it's safe as long as you're at these levels, then let's do it.
Are you hearing of any teams that are deciding to hold off in the fall and play that spring season? I know, and I know this has changed, but I know there was some, rumblings or conversation about Canyon City possibly, playing in the spring. Because I have a coworker who has a son that plays football and baseball, and there was that concern, like, okay, if you're moving football to the spring, how are we going to do football and baseball at the same time? But it sounds like Canyon is sticking to the fall.
Yeah, Canyon's sticking with the fall, and all the Pueblo schools are. I'm not sure. I feel like there was maybe a couple Pueblo schools that didn't want to do fall, but the rest of the district was saying yes, so they didn't want to be the holdouts. But everyone locally is going to be playing this fall. And yeah, Canyon City, it was kind of a weird deal. There's a couple people that told me that they were going to go to the spring, and then just like a couple of days later, those same people are like, oh, they might be changing their mind. And then I think it was like Sunday before that final deadline, they said, yeah, we're going to go fall. So, and it sets up one heck of a league too, with Durango coming in now. But yeah, it was interesting, just how all this played out. And the schools had like 72 hours to decide. And, the spring season is going to be kind of tough because, there's some, like if you look at 6-man, there's 2 teams that said they're going to play in the spring. So I don't know how that's going to work at all.
Now, who
if it even
from
can.
6-man is deciding to go spring?
What'd you say? Sorry.
As far as like 6-man football, who's deciding to take that spring option?
I think Primero was one, and I don't even know who the other school was. But at that point, I don't even know if you could have a season if there's only 2 teams playing.
Oh, and if I'm not mistaken, I think there was some schools up north in the northeastern part of the state. I don't know I can't remember if it was like Sedgwick County or Fleming or some of the schools up there that were going to do what they called a club football season before the governor's office and Shasta decided, okay, we can, execute football. Were you aware of any other schools that were kind of thinking the same thing, kind of getting together and starting club programs?
I didn't hear anything down there, but I definitely did hear about it up north there because the Chieftain and the Colorado and Fort Collins are kind of working together now. Our companies have merged, and we're part of Gannett, which owns USA Today. So we're kind of work together now, and they were telling me about that, those teams up north putting that together. But I didn't really hear anything down here, but, I know around the Denver area, just 7-on-7 is already big. These camps that kids go to get professional numbers like 40-yard dash time and all that. So 7-on-7 was kind of a big thing already for Denver, and really the Springs area too. And, a lot of Palmer Ridge kids go to that kind of stuff. And so it kind of made sense that, some people up north were trying to copy that and bring it up there. And, if it continued, I wouldn't have been surprised if some people down here in the south part of the state would have tried to join in on that 7-on-7 stuff. Because that was one of the biggest arguments was, look at these like peewee kind of, these younger kid football programs that were going on, and they were letting them going on, but not football. So that was kind of one of the arguments they used.
So, wait. So Pueblo is moving forward with playing the fall football season. What are some of the teams and players which we should be paying attention to?
Oh man, all of them. If you're going to go off last year, of course, you gotta look at Pueblo South. I mean, they were in the state title game last year. They did have a lot of seniors, but they have an interesting mix of players that are coming back. And one of them is Jace Bella, the quarterback. He led Class 3A in interceptions last year, but now he's not even going to play cornerback because he's going to be the QB. And he's got a receiver, Luke Garrienti, that's going to come back. And they have their running back, George Longoria, back, who led 3A in rushing yards. So South, I think for sure is, obviously well coached too with Ryan Goddard, longest tenured coach, I think now in Pueblo currently. So South is always a contender. East obviously is always a contender too. I have a new coach with Tony Valdez, but still a lot of good players, and I think they'll be solid as well. They're really just one game away from qualifying for the playoffs last year. But when people ask me this, I keep telling them my dark horse is probably Pueblo County. They have a bunch of kids back, a bunch of seniors, and really some talented guys up front and on the line, offense and defense. And, the way County plays, they're going to run the ball. So if they have a good O-line, they're going to have a scary offense, which they do. And I think defensively they're tough. And, they have one of the best coaches Pueblo's seen in Monte Pinkerton, who's won a state title before at Pueblo West. So I think those three are probably, some of the top ones to watch. But I think Centennial could be tough. Centennial and Central could both be tough. Jeff Wilkerson and Chris Cotterman have kind of turned both of those programs around simultaneously, and both have them going on an upward trend. Both lost a lot of seniors that were kind of on that, so it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. But yeah, really, honestly, I think everyone around Pueblo will be fun to watch. Pueblo West, I didn't even talk about them. I mean, they lost a lot, but they have a good running back, Jeremiah Sanchez, and well coached with Clint Buderis over there. So it doesn't matter where you go on Friday in Pueblo. I think you're going to see a good game.
Now, is this the year that Pueblo West moves up to 5A?
No, they're not moving to 5A in football for a long time. They moved to 5A in volleyball and both basketballs and baseball this year.
Okay, but they're staying put for football.
Yeah, they probably won't move to 5A football for a while. just because they barely were on the edge for those other four sports that are moving up. Football's enrollment number is a lot higher than every other sport, so I don't see Pueblo West going up there anytime soon.
And just not to take away from football, but will Pueblo West moving to 5A and some of those other sports? What are you seeing? What's the outlook look like if we have that crystal ball? Okay, let's get into basketball season. Let's get into baseball with that move to 5A, where you got the Valor Christians, you got the Cherry Creeks, at the big level. Does that, what kind of landscape does that look like for us Cyclones?
Unfortunately, I think this was probably the toughest year they could be going to 5A for three of those four. I mean, volleyball, they had a great senior class that's gone. Girls basketball, Hannah Simmental's gone, and, some other good seniors that they had. Boys basketball, same story, a bunch of good seniors. So, this first year, I think it's going to be rough for those three, to be honest. I mean, they just lost so much, and now they got to go up a whole other level, and they're going to be throwing kids in that really haven't played too many minutes on the varsity level. But, what else is tough with Pueblo West is all those sports, they're staying in the SEL. So they're going to have an SEL schedule that's 10 games against 4A teams. And, they might be able to dominate or win a league title. But then you get into, a 5A regionals, and it's a whole other level. You just got used to playing 10 games against this one level, and now you have to step up to another one. So that's where I think it's probably the toughest for Pueblo West, just moving forward, even beyond, the actual players they have. I mean, it's going to be tough to play down a level and then have to go right back up, and that's going to be tough. But, for baseball, I think that program is just good enough they can compete with anyone, really. So I have confidence that baseball will be okay. They've got pitchers over there, they've got arms, which always helps no matter what level you're on. And really, they've been kind of used to it. I mean, they've gone to state. All those years they lost to Valor Christian, or they lost to Windsor, who moved up to 5A. They're used to playing those kind of teams that are good, are solid in 5A, and that they competed well against. It's not like they're getting 10 run every game by Valor, like they were close games. So, but I think Pueblo West baseball is, in a good spot, and they'll still be able to compete pretty well. But those other sports, man, it's going to be a little tough, I think, here to get used to it.
So now how's the volleyball landscape looking for Pueblo?
What was that? Sorry.
The volleyball landscape, how is it looking for Pueblo?
Gotcha. Yeah, so when Chassa said all this about football, the governor's response to him said football was good, but there was a little thing in there about indoor sports. And they said at that time they weren't going to be looking into it. So really, that's kind of the last update I've really heard. It's tough since it's an indoor sport. It presents different challenges with the virus. So I don't know how much the state is really looking at letting Chassa bring that back. So I think the volleyball season is going to be in the spring. But what is nice is Chassa allows you to compete for your club team and your high school team. So if girls are, if they're up for it, they can compete in both seasons in club and for their high school. It would obviously be a lot of wear and tear for them, but if they love the sport, I'm sure they'd be willing to do it. And there's still a lot of time. Maybe some of those club volleyball teams move their season back to the summer or something to allow the girls to play for high school in the spring. So really just not much on the volleyball front. A lot of questions still, but yeah, it's looking like it's going to be in the spring.
Now, are you seeing any of the volleyball players here in Pueblo taking advantage of being able to play softball that normally wouldn't, but looking to, hey, I was a great softball player, up through middle school, and I love the sport, but I kind of lean towards volleyball. Are you seeing any volleyball players playing softball like we might be seeing in smaller communities?
Unfortunately, I have not. There is one girl at Pueblo West, Shayla Padilla. I know she's a great volleyball player, and she's been playing on the Cyclone softball team. So shout out to her. She's been an awesome softball player as well. But yeah, not really too much in other places. And, I think it's just because Pueblo is already just so good at softball, and just the high school sports landscape nowadays, is all about specializing and, doing this one sport. And one of those big times is softball and baseball. So a lot of these girls you see in Pueblo, like, all they do is softball. So it'd be hard for a volleyball girl to say, I'm going to try to play softball against all these girls where, softball is what they eat and breathe every day.
Well, Austin, we greatly appreciate the time, and, glad you're getting busy again. It sounds like you got a busy afternoon when we're trying to get this interview scheduled. So what's on tap the rest of the week in sports?
Oh man, this week is probably one of the busiest so far because every year at the Chieftain we do this special football section, kind of previewing everything. And normally we have the Broncos, CU, CSU, CSUP, and Air Force as well as all the high schools. And, that itself is always a difficult task to put together. But we didn't do it for obvious reasons because we weren't sure if there's going to be a season, but now that we do know there's a high school season, we decided we are going to do it. And we only have about, 2.5 weeks to try to put it together. So this is kind of the week where, I'm going to be going to all these practices, but, I also have to immediately turn around and write the preview because everything's due. The section's going to come out October 8th and everything's due October 6th so we can print it. So yeah, this week is just going to be absolutely mad. And, on top of all that football stuff, is the final week of league softball, and like I said, South and Central are tied. So who knows what's going to happen there? And there's the city cross country meet tomorrow on Wednesday, and boys golf state is next Monday and Tuesday. It's just, yeah, this next 2 weeks are going to be nuts.
But the sports fan in you gotta love it though.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, not to mention everything that the pros going on. NFL's back. You got MLB playoffs. You got the NBA finals. Yeah, it's this. It sucked missing all those things, but man, now with them all together, it's just nonstop fun. Really, like you just sit on
Yeah.
your couch for a full day and just watch sports.
Yeah, it is certainly an unprecedented time that we have right now, especially when you have the Nuggets and the Avalanche, making the runs that they did with Broncos and Rockies going on. So, depending on the night and the channel, you're able to support the home teams, but it's certainly great to get those high school kids back out on the fields and, courts outside, I guess. So, but yeah, looking forward to a great football season, and, we'll have to have you back on kind of recap some of those success stories from the gridiron as well as the tennis courts, golf courses, and hopefully we'll get some volleyball back as well.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we want to thank Austin for taking the time. It's getting busy down there. He's going to have a lot to do. So they do a good product. So Chieftain does a lot with local sports. That's cool to see. So you'll a couple years he'll be covering you, Jack. So, okay, we made our Broncos picks. You took Denver and laid the 3.5. I took the Jets, took my 3.5. So you have your picks there. I have my picks here. So I think now they'll be in the same order. So we can look. Is your next game Indianapolis and Chicago?
No, it's Cardinals-Panthers.
Why is this? How can we be in the same thing and not be in the same order? I don't understand that. So,
Here,
all right.
I'll let you say it, and I can find them on here.
All right. So off my sheet, the first game I have is Indianapolis at Chicago. You get the Bears at home plus 2.5. So you have Indianapolis. Chicago's 3-0, and they're at home, and they get points. That seems fishy to me. Who are you going to go with?
I'm going with Indianapolis because
As am I. Tell me why.
Here's the reason. Although they're playing at home and are 3-0, and are playing the 2-1 Indianapolis Colts, Bears defense. Wait, is it the Bears defense or is it a different defense? I think it's the Bears defense. They haven't been doing it too great. It's been a lot of close games. And plus, I think they're benching Mitch Trubisky. On the fantasy thing,
I'm pretty sure Foles.
Yeah, on the fantasy thing, Trubisky's only projected to have 1.3 points. I have Mitch Trubisky on my bench. So.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm
going to keep him around. Did you pick up Foles? Who picked up Foles in your league?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm with you. The Bears are not a 4-0 team. So, I mean, they're 3-0. They're not a 4-0 team. I like the Colts. We're going to get back. I'm going to get back up the board. We're going to win some picks this week. So, next for me is another home dog, and that is Detroit. They are home with New Orleans coming to town, old-ass Drew Brees, and the Saints coming into Detroit. Detroit at home plus 4.5. Who do you got?
This is going to be one of the more closer ones. Like, if they'll cover the spread, it's going to come down to fourth quarter, 2-minute warning for this. I'm going to say New Orleans.
Okay, so we are different there. You are taking New Orleans. I am going to take Detroit and my 4.5 because I'm with you. I think it's going to come down. I think it's going to be close. I think New Orleans kicks a field goal late and wins the game, but Detroit covers the spread. So give me Detroit and my 4.5.
All right.
Next one here on my sheet is the Browns. Cleveland goes to Dallas. Dallas has to lay 4.5. So you get Cleveland and Dallas. Cleveland plus 4.5 against the Cowboys. What are you thinking?
I'm going to take Dallas.
Okay, we're going to differ again on this one. I am but Baker's my guy, man. I ride or die with Baker. So I'm going to go with the Browns. I think they are better than they have been, and I'm not sold. I don't trust the Cowboys. I don't trust them. So
I don't either, but it's the Browns.
I know you got that just innate. See, you've never had a good. When I was your age, man. Oh, especially like you're 11, so that's 91 for me. That's the drive year. Like those are the drives and the fumbles and Kozar and Biner and all. That's when the Browns. You probably find this hard to believe. There was a time when the Cleveland Browns were a good football team. They're a good organization, and
Yes.
now they're like the Colorado Rockies of the NFL. So
Yeah.
now,
So, but here's the catch. Baker Mayfield's probably my least favorite quarterback in the NFL.
you don't like flashy pants.
No, I guess, but also I think he went to Texas Tech before he transferred to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is in the Big 12 along with Texas Tech. So
I forgot about that. It's bred into you to hate Oklahoma. I hate Oklahoma, but it ain't bred into me like it is to you. You hate Oklahoma. You hate Texas. So that's you can't help it. So I admire you. You're ride or die for Tech. So you know what? To hell with Baker. I'm still taking them to beat Dallas.
yeah, the only time I'll root for Texas is when they play Al Qaeda.
That's it, Kay. That's a good line. LA Chargers versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa at home, you have to lay 7.5. The Chargers going into Tampa. Who do you got?
I'm gonna take the Chargers.
Wow, we're different. You and I we're different. We're gonna see a big change with you and I because we're pretty close to each other in the standings. So we're gonna see you and I go one of the two. One of us is going up, one of us is going down. So I'm taking Tampa Bay and laying the 7.5. I just think the Chargers are. I just don't think they're very good. So
I think it's gonna be you that does better because I'm a close game junkie. Within 5 points is my specialty.
Oh, okay. I got you. Well, you're still learning. You're learning the art of the spread, which I have no idea. But it's. I think it's more fun to play the spread that way. When you're older, then if you were to lay a few shekels down on the games, you'll understand a little bit about taking that spread. Next up is the Vikings at Houston. Houston minus 3.5 at home with the Vikings coming to town. Who do you got?
Man, we're gonna need to do some of these for baseball. And I don't know why I would say that right now, but it came to my mind.
We can do some pick'ems on baseball.
Maybe. So here is it the Houston one with
Yep, Minnesota at Houston. Houston minus 3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay the points and take Houston.
So am I. So we agree for the second time. We have agreed on a pick. We're going to take Houston, lay the points. Seattle goes to Miami, another home dog. Miami and 6.5 points against the Seahawks coming to town.
I think Seattle will win, and they'll be the only 4-0 team, but I'm going to take Miami here.
Gotcha. Me too. I think it's going to be Seattle late. I think it's either going to be 3 or 5. I think if I had to guess, I'm going to say Seattle wins by 5. That is my prediction. So Miami will cover, and, cover is as good as a win at the casino. Arizona goes to Carolina. Carolina at home, another home dog. Carolina plus 3.5. Arizona coming to town.
I'm taking Arizona.
There we go. We're on a roll now. As am I. I think Arizona goes in there and wins outright. I think they're going to get it done. Now, Kyler Murray, he's another Big 12. He's an Oklahoma guy too, isn't he?
Yeah, but I do have him on my he's my starting quarterback on my fantasy team.
Well, yeah, there's no need to apologize for that. When fantasy's thicker than blood, or something. However you would say that. You want to win your fantasy. It doesn't matter who's scoring the points for you, as long as they're not Al Qaeda, right? That's it.
Yes.
Okay. Baltimore goes to Washington. I don't remember it. Which don't hold anything to this, what I'm about to say. I don't remember the last time I saw a home team in the NFL get 13.5 points. Baltimore goes to Washington. Washington plus 13.5. I'm taking the Washington football team and those points.
Being the close game junkie that I am, I think whoever placed this spread is, I mean, it is relatable, but just seems weird. I'm taking Washington football team as well.
Okay. Bam. Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Joe Burrow and the Bengal Cats, the Jungle Cats, minus 3.5. Jacksonville, also another type of jungle cat. In Cincinnati, you have a Jaguar and a Bengal. So who are you going with?
Logically, a Jaguar would win over a Bengal, but today I'm going to take Cincinnati.
Okay, as am I. We're on the same boat. I think Cincinnati is laying 3.5. I think they win by 7. That is my prediction. Cincinnati by 7. The New York Football Giants, who are one of the 3 worst teams in the league with the other New York team and our Broncos. The Giants are in LA to take on the Rams. Rams are laying. Rams got to lay 12.5 at home. So New York on the road plus 12.5. Giants, Rams.
Not happening. I'm going to take the New York Giants.
Oh, you're going to take the Giants. Okay, I'm going to take the Rams and lay my points. So we are different on that one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 of them now that we have.
Still, I am a close game junkie.
I know you are. You are a close game junkie. Okay, Buffalo Bills in Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The Raiders at home plus 3.5. Raiders a dog at the Roomba Center there in Vegas. So the Bills and the Raiders plus 3.5.
I'm taking the Bills because the spread's 3.5. The kicker is a rookie from Georgia Southern. He's gonna win by a field goal. The kickers from the small schools I think they're better than the kickers from the bigger schools.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Hi, Theory.
I am also taking Wyoming Cowboy alum Josh Allen and the Bills to go on the road and beat the Raiders. New England at Kansas City. It's Kansas City minus 7.5. Patriots come to town. I find it weird, first of all, that's not a Sunday night game. It's Sunday afternoon. New England, Kansas City. Chiefs lay 7.5. What do you got?
I did one of those close my eyes picks with that one, and I got Patriots.
Okay, so you did the blind play.
Yeah, the blind play.
Okay. I am taking Kansas City. I just think the Chiefs – I think this first time, I don't know if Belichick – because New England's already lost, right? Or is New England undefeated?
Their Patriots are not undefeated.
So they've already lost home field to Kansas City. So I don't think Belichick plays all his cards this first time they play. So I think the Chiefs are liable to just destroy them. But
yeah,
I might be
wrong. Chiefs
wrong.
Winning no matter what.
Okay, so you're taking the Chiefs? Or are you said you were taking the Patriots?
Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots.
Okay, perfect. Philadelphia, which is like the Philadelphia is terrible. They go to San Francisco, 49ers at home minus 6.5.
49ers also have been not doing so well. Nick Bosa getting injured. So many injuries make me pick Philadelphia.
Okay, we're opposite again. So I'm taking the 49ers. Last one, Atlanta at Green Bay. This is Monday night, professional tackle football at the not so frozen yet tundra. Green Bay minus 7.5 at home.
All right, I'm gonna take Atlanta. Green Bay is one of the better teams, but I think the Falcons are gonna win an upset.
Oh, you're calling it an outright Atlanta outright.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. Okay, well, right there, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the 15 games we do not agree on. So I'm anxious to see. We're going to see some stuff. There's going to be some movement this week. So before we get out of here, last topic, we didn't touched on it a little bit earlier, but your fantasy team, have the injuries and stuff messed with your team too much?
I had Kenny Golladay on my bench, and he missed the first 3 games. I still have him. So.
But you haven't had any major, like, big losses yet on your fantasy team. What is your record
No.
fantasy-wise?
2-1.
Okay, I'm 1-2. Jennifer, my wife, she's 3-0, man. She's smoking.
Wow. What's your fantasy team and her fantasy team?
Okay, hold on. Stand by. Let's get into it. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Where is my... Here we go. Bam. Here we go. Okay. My team. It says loading your team data. So my team, Uncle Craig set this up. So we actually start 2 quarterbacks. So I start Josh Allen and Jared Goff. And then I have Edwards Hilaire, Gibson, Antonio Gibson from Washington, George Kittle, Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins, and Larry Fitzgerald are who are starting for me this week. Chris Godwin is on the bench. Judy is on my bench. Cam Akers is on my bench. And Zach Moss are on my bench. So let's go look at – oh, hold up. Let's go back.
What's your team name?
The 307 Snuffleupagus.
Nice.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of the Snuffleupagus. So let's find Jen's team here. Matchup. Let's check the matchups. Where is she at here? So she has Dak and Phillip Rivers as her quarterbacks, and then Kamara, Gurley, Mike Evans, Landry, and then Crowder, who's playing tonight, and then Higbee. And then on her bench, she has Gallup, and then A.J. Brown, David Montgomery, and J.K. Dobbins. I think Dobbins was the big one. She had to decide who she wanted to go with, so I think she benched Dobbins. It looks like Denver scored. Oh, no.
Did it?
No, maybe the Jets scored.
Wait, here, let me go check it out.
No, it's Jets. Yeah, it's Jets. Jets are up 7-0. So I'm up 10.5 on my spread. So I'm looking good so far. But sweet. Okay, well.
Hey, what's her fantasy team name?
Her fantasy team is just called Stavely Girls.
All right. You want me to tell you mine?
Yeah, I want to hear yours.
All right. So I remember mine by heart. Mine is called the ABC. But the ABC stands for Antonio Brown's Crimes.
Okay, Antonio Brown's Crimes, which there are several.
Yeah. So my starting quarterback, Kyler Murray, is aforementionedly. And my 2 running backs are Ezekiel Elliott and Aaron Jones starting. My wide receivers are, I believe, DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs, I believe. And my tight end, Darren Waller, the only tight end on my roster that I have.
Okay.
My flex position, I'm going to take, I forgot his name, Keenan Allen.
Okay.
And then my kicker, Jake Elliott, only kicker on my team. And then my defense, it's been the Cardinals lately. I have the Cardinals over the 49ers.
Okay.
On my bench, though, I have 49ers D. I've got quarterback Mitch Trubisky, aforementionedly. Running back Sony Michel. Wide receivers AJ Green and Kenny Golladay. No tight ends, and I think that's it.
Who do you play this week?
Oh, my dad.
Oh, I hope you smash him.
I will.
Pound. Okay, last thing before we get out of here. If the Broncos get beat tonight, let's say it's ugly. Let's say the Jets win 21-0, 24-0, something like that. Does Fangio get fired?
If he gets fired, sometimes this season he gets fired.
Okay. You don't think, though, if we get blown out tonight with it being a Thursday game and us essentially having 10 days off then before the next one, that Elway wouldn't fire him tomorrow if we get killed tonight?
Yeah. But I don't think those firings are going to be that early. I think
Okay.
it's going to be trade deadline or later.
Okay. Perfect. Well, if you get sick of football, Sunday, NASCAR, Talladega, that's always a fun one to watch. So I'll be texting your dad when there's about 25 to go. I'll make sure you guys know so you can flip over if you just want to catch the end of it. So, sound good?
All right. Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Well, have a good weekend. Watch some football, and then we'll get together and chat some more next week.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Later, man.